Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the CanTiki podcast. My name is Jason Wise. This is a really exciting episode. I love stories that are attached to cocktails. And there is been a long time I've wanted to talk to some experts about this whole tiki bar culture. Tiki cocktails, where did it come from? Why did people become so obsessed with it? And I have two really, really great guests. One who owns a tiki bar and the other loves tiki cocktails and used to work in one. And she's our very own Claire Coppi. This is going to be a podcast you don't want to miss. It's going to be very funny, and it's a great slice of Americana pop culture stuff that is very uniquely American. Before we do that, I want to tell you, on CanTiki, we've already launched a whole bunch of new episodes. I don't know if you saw our new show Pairings. The premiere episode is up right now, featuring Single Thread Restaurant, a 3-star Michelin restaurant. The new episode of that is coming soon. We have a Drink a Bottle episode with two very great stars of Top Chef. And we have a tasting notes that just went live. So if you are trying to learn or be educated or entertained or whatever, CanTiki has you covered. CanTiki.com is $49.99 for an entire year or $5.99 a month. So join us over there and let's have a lot of fun and drink together. Without further ado, I have Tiki aficionado Claire Coppi and Amanda Sasser from CanTiki, one of the great tiki bars still going in Los Angeles, on the podcast. You guys are going to love this. Tiki cocktails and tiki bars. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before we get started, Amanda, I want to ask you, how did you get so deep into the tiki cocktail world that you now are proprietor of a tiki bar?
Well,
just start there.
I think that's what's really unique about me is I wasn't super deep into tiki. It's something I started researching a lot during the pandemic because I was doing little pop-ups. And through my research and reading articles, and, I read a lot of articles about tiki bars not being able to make it through this pandemic because, they couldn't really do it and I read about the culture and the history. And what I love about it is that it's basically an exploration of ingredients. And that's what cocktail making is. And it's a joyful time. And when I was doing these pop-ups, all the tiki drinks I did were so fun and everybody loved it so much. And it was a fun experience. Like the joy that came across people's faces by having this like tropical experience was just so nice. And now I'm definitely a lot more into the world, and like it is all about like these big events and like just celebrating Polynesian pop and like quirky little things, and it's cool. It's really fun.
I love that there is this underground culture celebrating tiki that is, we're going to get into all this, but before we do that, Claire, what is your relationship with tiki culture, tiki bars? Mine is basically, I end up in a town and somebody tells me there's some bar I have to go to, and I go there, and then I wake up like on the steps of City Hall the next morning, and I don't know how it happened. So that's my relationship. Yeah. What's your relationship? Yeah.
Oh, I love tiki. I used to be a much bigger nerd, a much more active tiki nerd than I am right now. I had the pleasure of opening and working at a very excellent tiki lounge bar in Chicago called 3 Dots and a Dash for a few years when I lived back in Chicago. It's
legendary
fantastic.
Place.
Legendary. Yeah, I remember I was moving down to the city from the suburbs and I needed a job. And they work for a pretty great restaurant group called Let Us Entertain You, who's known for taking very good care of their employees. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll apply to this place. And I got the job and I was like, crap, I'm going to have to wear like a coconut bra or something. And then I remember training and going into the space while it was still under construction. And we trained for like a month learning all about the history and the cocktails and how to do it right. And I was like, this is going to be serious. And we were slammed from night one, and it's still insane to get in there.
That's the place with the famous ridiculous drink, right? What's the drink at 3 Dots and a
They're
Dash?
all pretty ridiculous, but the
huge
really
one.
ridiculous. The big one, it's called the Treasure Chest.
Oh
it's changed a little bit now, but back in my day, it comes out in this big chest, and we open it up and there's dry ice everywhere and glow sticks. So it's just this glowing, smoking, ridiculous. We set it on fire sometimes. And it was almost an entire bottle of rum, a bunch of different fresh juices and stuff. And then we would top it off with a glow in the dark bottle of vintage Dom and put a bunch of very long straws in there, and you and your buddies suck it down. Classy.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that other than it's a good transition.
$400.
$400
right.
for a giant disease-spreading drink. I like this. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So So here's beside wearing the coconut bra,
Mm.
is the idea of tiki. We're going to get into the history of these tiki bars, kind of where they came from, why they exist, but I want to start with that kind of idea of like the pomp and circumstance, like you just described. It doesn't seem like there's subtlety in the tiki bar, tiki culture world.
No.
Is that one of the big things here, Amanda and Claire? It's got to be like kind of flamboyant, big.
Yeah.
There are all these tiki group subdivisions. Like there's the parrots, and I don't know them very well, but they do want the Hawaiian shirt, but they don't really care about a lot of the pomp and circumstance. They just want
Are
a
these
good,
are these
easy,
like Jimmy Buffett fans? Because I'm out.
It's so crazy. And then there's the not crazy. That's not the right word. It's so interesting that within this one culture there are so many different groups, and what they appreciate about tiki is so different, because you do have your, like, I call them Tico-philes that are like deep into it, that it's all about the outfits and the makeup and the total escapism and the puffer fish. And then you have this group that's like, I just want to
fish. What?
Hanging from the ceilings,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like it's just, but it's all about that. And, and then there's another group that all they want is like a kind of an affordable Mai Tai, something to drink. Doesn't have to be super fancy, but the cheesier, the better. And then there are people who, what I'm finding and like what my bar is more curated towards, is the person who wants the less sweet tiki experience, and making cocktails that still are celebratory of the tiki style, but that are more drinkable. And you can come in and you can taste everything and appreciate every ingredient. It's not just sort of a mixture of like sweet stuff.
Yeah. Which I will say, that's honoring the true, like, if you go back to those purists, that's what tiki's supposed to be. It was never supposed to be a ton of triple sec and orange juice and like fake pineapple juice. And yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the history. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a movie. You probably haven't, but an old movie called The Warriors, directed by Walter Hill, where there's all these different gangs, and they all like one are baseball players, others dress like babies, and then others are like, carry spiked bats, and they're like, but they're all themed. That's what I'm imagining as you describe this. Like, I'm going to, at the risk of offending a very tiny part of but passionate part of my audience, my idea of hell is being trapped in a room with a bunch of Jimmy Buffett fans for like 40 hours straight. So this is scary and I'm terrified, but I do love these cocktails. And my friends who are Jimmy Buffett fans, trust me, I have many, are listening, and they're going to text me right now. Okay. Anyways, let's get into the history of what is the tiki? Where did it come from? Why the hell does this even exist? It seems to be such an interesting invention. And I really, really love it. I really love this stuff. So where did it come from?
I was gonna say, I'll let Claire start this.
Okay.
Okay. Well, tiki, we have to admit kind of the elephant in the room with this as well. This is a huge mishmash of different appropriation from different Polynesian cultures. And it kind of stemmed from the end of World War II. I will say tiki started a little earlier than that with a gentleman named Don the Beachcomber, who opened his restaurant, I believe I think 1934, he started his first restaurant. But it really catered to the servicemen and women who came back from World War II, especially the Pacific Theater, that were exposed to this beautiful culture and wanted to bring it back to the States. And it really took off. But as far as the tiki bar, the bars themselves, that goes to Don Beach, who became known as Don the Beachcomber, who opened his first place in Hollywood. And this is where like a ton of celebrities came and made it super trendy, very famous people. And this guy, Don Beach, has a really cool history. He's pretty legit. He used to be a rum runner and a bootlegger down in Polynesia. He spent a lot of years on a boat down there. So he's a pretty legit guy. And he created these. As one does. Yes, as one does. And he started creating all these cocktails with fresh juices, a bunch of different rums in them. And one of his catchphrases was, what was it? What one rum doesn't do, three rums does. What did he say?
Oh, God.
What one rum can't do, three rums can. That's what he said. So he used fresh juices, syrups, fruits, liqueurs, extracts, brandies, mixed them all together. And it was all very fresh. But he also was very secretive about his recipes. He would put certain mixes together and they were just labeled like Don's Mix #3, and only he and like his lead bartender knew what was in it. So it was difficult for some of the more modern tiki people to kind of pick that apart and figure out exactly what he was doing to recreate his cocktails. So he started it. Then there was Trader Vic, who created a bunch of different chain of tiki bars and restaurants, which became very, very famous. He was a little bit better of a businessman than Don Beach. He's credited with creating the Mai Tai, pretty famous cocktail.
We're going to get into the cocktails and the Mai Tai controversy and all that stuff, Amanda, right?
And what I love so much about both of these guys is it's basically like Don Beach. He had a bunch of memorabilia. He brought it up. He put it in a tiny little space. Yes. And then he just started thinking about his travels and thinking about what he tasted and experimenting with all these things. So his place started as this tiny little hole in the wall. And Trader Vic is the same thing. He built like a 22 by something little hut with $800 he got from his aunt up in Oakland. And then started doing like Chinese food. And that was a whole, that was a whole craze and a style that happened. And these were just two dudes who were like, well, I like flavors. I've traveled. I know stuff. I'm just going to try to make some money here. And then whenever, prohibition was, whenever we got past it, whenever, drinking was legal again, then everybody just ran to tiki.
It was escapism, which it always is, It's a form of escapism for sure.
I find the drinks, you can't really separate. I guess there's maybe a perception of like, what are these drinks in the mind's eye and then what they really are. But I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind? You think of like what? Pineapple drinks, or you think of Mai Tais, you think of Polynesian pearl divers and all these like these drinks that it is a good drink, but they're also, I don't know, like I said jokingly, like waking up on the steps of City Hall, these are not light drinks. These are pretty serious cocktails from my experience. Maybe I'm wrong here.
No. They're strong.
What comes to mind when you think of, all right, look, this is the quintessential drink or two. I'm having you guys pick a few drinks towards the end of this and tell the stories and go into the ingredients, but what comes to mind for you two ladies when you think of like, this is tiki, I'm going out, this is what we're going to be served there? Is it the Mai Tai? What is it?
I mean, I think a lot of people think Mai Tai. That's a super popular one. Honestly, I think Pina Colada is what most people associate with tiki. But anything like your scorpion bowls, like your punches, and people know that these have a lot of alcohol in them. They're super fruity drinks. Any blue drink is an automatic just tiki experience, and everybody wants it. So anything vivacious and eye-catching, and I definitely the Navy grog, I would say, is something that is a classic tiki drink that everybody wants and loves. And that thing it's like a punch in the face. You like two of those and you've probably been overserved.
I feel like every one of these, every single one of these cocktail names is like a racehorse name too. You can be like, and in the lead is Navy Grog. Every single one of them is a horse race name.
I think one of them was Singapore Sling. I
think there you go, Singapore Sling. There you go. Every single one of these. In fact,
Triple Crown.
That's I would put that in the rules of like, it can't be a cocktail at a tiki bar unless it's a horse race name type sounding thing. Let's take the Mai Tai. I know there's a lot of controversy with the Mai Tai. All right. Well, after we talk about the Mai Tai, I do want to talk about kind of the rise and fall of the tiki bar. But I want to I can't let it rest. I know there's controversy with what the Mai Tai is. As a former bartender, I'm afraid to wonder, have I been making Mai Tais wrong this whole time?
Probably.
You say that based on me or probably. So Amanda, what is in the Mai Tai? What is it supposed to be, and what are we getting wrong?
You've got orgeat, you have a dry orange curacao, you have lime juice, and you have rum. It's usually a gold rum. And that's just the basic. That's the basic of a Mai Tai.
So for people who don't know what orgeat is, what's orgeat?
It's an almond syrup almost. So it's a sugary substance made from like kind of milking almonds. It's delicious. It's in so many tiki drinks. It kind of gives them that nice sweet sort of nutty flavor, but also a nice consistency, like a good mouthfeel. It makes them creamy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what else goes in it besides those? And then it's just ice, right?
I mean, unless Claire, you go ahead. I feel like
Yes, ice for sure. No, you're exactly right. I love hearing that because that's exactly what Mai Tai is. And this will be actually a good transition into the rise, and especially the fall of Tiki, because you can see that very clearly in the Mai Tai. Instead of using dry curacao, which is an orange liqueur, people start using orange juice. And then they start adding in pineapple juice. And that's just not what a Mai Tai was. Yeah, it's a couple good rums if you want. We used a couple different rums at 3 Dots and a Dash just to give it some more depth of flavor. The dry curacao, lime juice, orgeat. We used a little demerara syrup as well, and some macadamia extract as well to give it a little extra nuttiness. And then you should shave some fresh nutmeg over the top and a nice big sprig of mint, so that when you go in for a sip of this Mai Tai, you get all these really nice smells as well.
I mean, that's an insane amount of flavors in a drink. So Sunny Delight is that's not okay. You're not allowed to put Sunny D.
Sunny D.
No joke. I have no joke. I know a very respected bar I will not name in Orange County, California, that uses Sunny Delight in their Mai Tais, and it's like their secret ingredient is Sunny D, and they're expensive. So
great.
Well, I wonder though. So the ones that are wrong, orange juice and juice as a whole, would be the thing that is screwing it up, right? For you.
And yeah, probably throwing in triple sec as well. Like, it's just not.
Oh yeah.
No,
triple sec is just.
Yeah.
It is all about fresh. I mean, and so at the bar, so many people come in and everybody thinks that their way of making a Mai Tai is the best. And it's really interesting to hear how everybody makes it. But they're so passionate about their way being the right way. And like, I like to put a nice dark float of rum on top of Mai Tai. Some people think you shouldn't do that. Like, they're like, no, it shouldn't happen. And I like to use a pineapple washed rum. That's actually the first Mai Tai I ever had. But to do a traditional Mai Tai, I wouldn't be able to name it a Mai Tai and do that. It has to it's a quirk. It's like a different name. It's something a little different than the classic traditional drink.
But that's also Tiki.
Exactly.
It's like people messing around and experimenting and like doing riffs on things,
Exactly.
It's interesting to think that there is so much specificity with this. I wouldn't have thought that
people are serious.
Look, I'll use, this is not the right word, but I wouldn't have thought there would be snobbiness, meaning like really like if you were to go into another place and go, this isn't a fucking Mai Tai. I mean, this is not what it is. I experience that all the time with wine, and people mistake snobbiness for respect for tradition. And in a lot of cases, respect for tradition is not snobbiness, as long as you're handling that in a nice way. But I wouldn't have thought that existed in Tiki. I would have thought, all right, fine, whatever. You can throw the kitchen sink in and call it whatever. But it's nice to hear that there's providence in this.
Oh yeah.
I just think it's passion. It's not snobbery. It's passion, straight up passion about these cocktails, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Do you ever throw anybody out of your bar? You just throw them right out on the street when they come up and they say, look, I want creme de banana on this. And you're like, that is not okay.
Oh,
no. I say, try.
She's so sweet. You guys can't see Amanda. This is like the nicest person.
She's very good.
I was really hoping she was going to say, yeah, I kicked this guy's ass out on the street because he won. No.
I've gotten a little bit more salty with my responses. However, I do feel I'm interested in other people's ideas and ways, and how I usually like to say, you know what, when I come to your bar, I'm going to try it your way. And I hope that you try it my way here, but that sounds really exciting. Let me write that down.
I think my wife has said that to me when she's made dinner, and I'm like, you could do this. She's like, okay, well, when you're the chef, you can do it that way.
That's true. She's not wrong, Jason. Funny. She's not wrong.
That's right. No, that's pretty funny. So how big did Tiki culture get? Because I mean, if you've seen the movie Goodfellas, or if you've seen any stuff, like there are Tiki bars in all of these movies from a certain time, like late 70s, early 80s, or like period pieces. They set these things in Tiki bars and just don't make any bones about it. So how big did Tiki get, and why did it run its course or fall down? What happened here?
It got almost too big. That's kind of what happened. It's interesting. Yeah, you brought up movies. It was so big, it was ingrained in movies, music, it was absolutely insane. It was everywhere. TV shows. I mean, this is when you're getting, Blue Hawaii with Elvis, you're getting Gilligan's Island. And it becomes this huge, huge thing. And then it almost, it gets a little too big and it bottoms out and people are trying to capitalize on it and make a quick buck. So they're cutting corners. They don't want to be juicing all of these pineapples and lemons and limes. It gets really expensive, but they want to make a quick buck. So they are going to, we have this new thing called triple sec. Like, how cool. We can use that to sweeten it. And we'll just start throwing in, some cheap stuff. And the quality just started plummeting, unfortunately. So by the 80s, and it also, you have this new generation that they associate all of that with their parents. So it's not really cool anymore. It's kind of dated tiki.
Yeah, but now, we'll get into the now. So you really, Amanda, would you agree that the quality of ingredients led to the downfall?
Oh, for sure. I mean, because if you have a fresh Mai Tai, let's say, just if you have a fresh one and you sit that next to one that has triple sec and Sunny D in it, you're going to pick the fresh one. It's going to taste better. And, alcohol is all sugar. Rum is sugar cane. Like that hangover, if you've got Sunny D and no way, that is just brutal. And I think that's another reason why tiki dove a little bit is because we all have that rum story, right? Where you had too much and you were so sick. And the cocktail culture really started to move towards lighter, because it was before it started, people were drinking martinis, Manhattans, old fashions, very, very clean. Then we had the big tiki craze. And then with health consciousness and, more spirits being in the market and more things being there, a lot of people cut corners, but then a lot of people, because of what they were tasting, the synthetic flavors, decided to go back to classics. Decided to go back and be a martini drinker, a Manhattan, an old fashioned, just very traditional, clean drinks that don't have a lot going on with them.
It's really interesting, so I don't know if you guys have spent time in French Polynesia, but I have spent a fair amount, probably 6 or 7 weeks. I directed a travel show that we shot for 5 weeks, all through the Marquesas Islands, all through the Society Islands, the whole deal. And and then I've been to Easter Island, which is part of Polynesia, and, obviously Hawaii and all these things. And the interesting thing about that, I didn't know what to expect, whether I was going to find these kind of cocktails, because rum doesn't come from over there at all. Rum comes from the Caribbean. Rum comes from South America, Central America. I mean, now they make rum in other places, but it's not, that world is very far removed. But I can tell you, the heat and the humidity and the sun, and generally I'm working, those sweet drinks that they do serve, by the way, over there, you do find a lot of rum-based things with juice. They're incredible. They're so tasty in that environment. And it's not, I'm not there on vacation. I have been directing and working, long hours.
Sure.
No, well, but I am working. There is something about that kind of concoction that really, really does work in a hot environment, and I wonder too, you talk about the transportational thing about these kind of drinks, the kind of theatricality of it. Tiki bars don't seem to have windows. They seem to be these closed in places. And so you're either in Polynesia, literally looking at palm trees and sand and, a swim up bar or something like that, or you are in a black box where you can't see outside and you're sitting at a bar that looks like an old ship. And you're that's such a weird dichotomy. There's no middle ground here. It's not like you're I'll have a Mai Tai,
well, it's supposed to
restaurant.
Transport you. That's why I remember people being why would you make a tiki bar in Chicago? And it's because in the middle of the winter, you get to go underground where there are no windows. And for all you could be in Polynesia, you're supposed to be able to escape. Hence the black box with lots of pretty lights and decorations and fancy drinks and awesome music and, beautiful servers and bartenders wearing flowy dresses and shirts and stuff. And you have fun. You forget that you're in the middle of the winter in Chicago and you want to die.
Amanda, does your bar have windows? Does your location is it?
No.
Okay.
It's very dark.
And is that so?
It's very
dark.
Is that
so people like me look better in there? What's the reason? Aside from the transportation.
I think everybody looks better in a dark bar.
Especially after a couple
think,
Mai Tais.
I look great.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, my building is an old location. it was a bar in every iteration. My bar looks a lot better in the dark too. You don't want to see all that with the fluorescent lights on. I don't.
Her bar's very clean, by the way. We should say that.
No,
I know I do. Care. I keep a very clean bar, but I just, we live in Los Angeles. There's always dust that finds its way in, and just grossness that you have to clean every day.
Yeah, well, of course. Anyone who's bartended, many people listen to this podcast work in service and they work in the restaurants, and they understand that the fruit fly situation at 2 a.m. when you're cleaning the bar mats is a real thing. You got to bleach those drains.
I will say that owning a tiki bar, and I've developed a lot of different cocktail programs, Tiki Bar is definitely the stickiest. When you're cleaning up. I mean, it's just the messiest. Like, I have to plunge the drains all the time because you're just using, even though I try to, keep it fresh and I do minimal syrups and everything, it's still just the ingredients that you're using are sticky.
Very, very.
So when it comes to the decline, I really do think that a lot of people associate some of these drinks with this like kind of corporatized, if you go to I'm sorry to call it like TGI Fridays or any of these places that, if you look at their cocktail menu, a lot of them are drinks that probably originated from this kind of tiki idea. All these like just corporate kind of places. I don't know what else to say.
But I mean, it was definitely corporatized, but also, Disney tiki. People are crazy about it.
Right. I forgot
and
about
there
Disney
is
tiki.
a love. I mean, Disney tiki is the place to be
at Disney. The bar. You can't get in there.
A lot of people.
So hard.
It's hard. It's hard, but people love it. But it's like but I think that the important thing is with anything, there are just so many different people. We're a melting pot of so many different people, which also is kind of what tiki is. It's a melting pot of all these different flavors and places. You've got Martinique rums, you've got agricole rums, you've got aged rums, you've got bootleg rums, you've got, you just have all of these different things that come from really all over. And so it kind of works. Everybody gets to have their sort of experience that they want from this, because you really can't say that it's one way is wrong, because it is all about the exploration.
Let's talk some cocktails. So I want you guys to name what are some of your favorite cocktails, what the story is and what's in them. Let's get the audience psyched up to go to, if not your bar, Amanda, someone's great tiki bar with good quality ingredients and reinvigorate. Take this thing back from not corporate America, but just poor management, I suppose. So Amanda, let's start with you. What is your cocktail you want to call out, and what's its story?
So this is totally the antithesis to what my flavor profile is, but I'm really into the Cobra's Fang. It's a Don Beach recipe. He makes this syrup called a Fascianola syrup, and it has strawberries and blueberries and just a little bit of sugar. It has a little bit of passion fruit, and it comes out this beautiful red color. And it's all in the way you prepare the syrup. Like, it's a syrup that sometimes, you just want to throw a bunch of stuff in and boil it, but there's a process of like, you do the blueberries and then you let it simmer for a minute, and then you lightly mash them, and then you add the strawberries. So there's this celebratory way of preparing this drink. And then when it comes out, it's this beautiful red concoction, and it's served with a gorgeous flower, a pineapple frond. And it looks beautiful, and it's fun to drink. It's a little bit sweeter than I typically go, but I don't know. It's a hit with me because it's such a gorgeous drink.
A weird question, but what do you eat with that? What's your food with that drink?
I'll eat anything. I like to eat when I drink, but what would you eat with that? I would say
coconut shrimp.
Yeah, coconut shrimp.
Yeah,
sounds good, right?
anything like shrimp, but also I'm kind of into the whole Chinese food sort of situation with my tiki drinks.
I don't know if I've talked to Claire about this, but I love Spam, and I have no apologies for it. I freaking love it. I would, if you were to give me Spam with that, I would be so in. The salt mixing with the sugar.
Totally.
I'm
never had Spam.
I could do an hour. You've never had Spam?
I've not.
Well, I grew up with a father
You've been
who
missing
was
out.
obsessed with Spam, loved it. And it was like a novelty that he thought was hilarious just to like say, I love it. And then it became a thing that he truly loved. And, I mean, if you go to Hawaii, they love Spam. I mean,
It's all about
again,
Spam.
you talk about something that's from GIs. I mean, GIs were stationed in a place. Spam was easy to transport. A lot of Polynesian culture loves Spam.
No, it's
And,
true. It's true.
Spam on one of those little Hawaiian rolls,
Little
you know,
Spam
those
slider.
Hawaiian rolls that come in the orange pack. Yeah,
Got some of those right
I
now.
would eat.
that would be amazing with maybe a little bit of pineapple on it.
After this podcast, I'm gonna go have like 6 zombies and a bunch of Spam. That's it. It's over for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
maybe
the
you should-
zombie.
That's funny you said zombie because that's the cocktail I was going to mention.
All right, let's go.
Look at that.
Why zombie?
Why zombie? Well, it's
Why
another
zombie?
it's another classic Don the Beachcomber recipe. Like this is it's a big one in tiki culture. At 3 Dots and a Dash, we made it into a large format drink, and we poured it into this giant crystal skull.
Of course you did.
Of course we did. We poured it in a giant crystal skull and lit it on fire. Zombies are lit on fire quite a bit, so that's fun. And I like it because it has this flavor profile that I didn't expect in a tiki cocktail, but is actually a very classic tiki profile as far as flavors go. Because before I was exposed to everything and learned about it, I thought it was more sweet and fruit juicy and, that kind of profile. But very classic in these drinks are these baking spice notes. And so you get a lot of, in the zombie punch, there's cinnamon syrup, there's velvet falernum, there's Angostura bitters. So there's all of these ingredients that have like this nutmeggy, cozy, warm, spicy quality to them that I really, really like.
What sets it on fire? Is there like 151 float or something like that?
We would do, for a little bit, we did, 151 float. We would hollow out limes. And so we'd have half of a hollowed out lime. So it's just, the skin. And then we'd take a piece of stale bread and either use like lemon extract
That's so elaborate.
or
This is so
151
elaborate.
and we light it on fire and it was
And
pretty
you would tape it to the back of a hairless cat and it would walk down the bar and deliver it.
I
It's
gotta
like-
say,
it's
as a
whole
cocktail
thing.
server there, it was a little dangerous with the amount of hairspray that we had in and all the things we were lighting on fire. There were a couple of us that got nuked a couple of times.
Oh my god.
Isn't
A
it
little
frightening? And you can't control
Not so
fire when you're
much.
walking with this flaming bowl trying to
Yeah.
serve. I've set so many tiki umbrellas on
Oh,
fire.
you
and
can't
I'm just
umbrella
like,
when you're lighting. That's a
Here we
bold
go.
move. I respect that, but
Nope.
that's a move.
Thank you. I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
This is an amazing occupational hazard.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool when you get to light stuff on fire.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
It's
It's so
awesome. Who doesn't run a drink from like a lava volcano? You want to
see the look on the
fire.
guest's
It's
face
super
too
fun.
when you light their drink on fire. They're just like, "Fuck yeah!" Sorry, now we need to make this an explicit podcast.
It's already explicit.
Yeah.
You're fine. Claire,
That's true.
every time you and I are on, it's explicit.
It's a problem.
So, all right, Amanda, give me another one. What else? What else do I have to have after I have my Spam and zombies today?
So this is a cocktail also that is really overdone a lot, and it's a jungle
I
bird.
love a jungle bird.
But if you,
Oh,
but right,
great horse
if
name.
you do a jungle bird, there you go. Next menu that's coming out, it's gonna be a day at the races.
Oh, that'd
Yep.
be cute.
Has to be.
Like just every
Was that Stephen
Right?
Crane that created the jungle bird? The old actor who created it, I
Ooh,
think.
I honestly I don't
Anyway,
remember.
I'm sorry. I stepped on you.
She wasn't-
he
she
was the
wasn't
jet
born,
pilot.
Claire.
He was the
Google-
jet pilot. Never
You
mind.
could- I was gonna say I could Google search that, but I don't know who was the original creator. But that drink is so delicious if it's made with the fresh juices. You have pineapple, you've got a demerara syrup, you've got Campari for a bitter note, and then you've got a dark rum. And it is one that if you don't want something super sweet, it's still like tropical, but you've got that bitter kick to it. So it's really nice. And then there are, I like to add a little bit of lime juice to mine. And I also like to do a cinnamon demerara syrup and use a spice blood orange Campari. And that's my favorite way. But again, the tradition, it's such a good drink. Any bar you go into. I know a lot of people say they judge a bar by their Mai Tai. I would say I judge a bar by their jungle bird.
I'll drink both of those with you.
This is
It's a weird little hole we've gone down.
This is my favorite conversation I have had so far this week. This is just too good.
It's great.
I judge a bar by their jungle bird. It's just
Hell
like,
yeah.
if that is not on, if you don't have a bumper sticker that says that, then I'm making you one. That is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Claire, what's your next cocktail?
I'm going to choose for my next cocktail a drink called the Hemingway Daiquiri because it's delicious and it's got a cool history.
One of my favorites.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. It's basically like a classic daiquiri, which is, lime, sugar, and a beautiful rum. But instead of lime, we are now introducing grapefruit juice. And it's delightful. You still have lime in it. I like to use the Flor de Caña white rum. The 4-year is really, really good for this drink. That's a great rum. And then maraschino, simple syrup, lime juice, grapefruit juice, and you shake it all up. And then traditionally people are, they see daiquiris like as these frozen drinks in these pitchers. But traditionally, daiquiri is shaken and then poured up in a coupe glass. Very simple. And then you just do a nice little grapefruit zest with this, which is delicious. And I think the history of it's really cool. So it's called the Hemingway Daiquiri because of a gentleman you've probably heard of called Ernest Hemingway, who you also
we
may
have a
have
whole
heard.
podcast coming. We have a whole podcast coming about the drinks supposedly he invented and whether he did or not. And so, anyways, keep going. I love this.
He liked the drink, did Ernest. Don't know if you've heard that about him as well. And he was down in Cuba and Havana a lot. And he was at this bar called the Floridita, which is it's still there, very famous classic tiki bar from back in the day. And he would frequent it quite a bit, and he loved the daiquiris there. And they made him a special one with grapefruit. That's what he would drink. He was always there. They have a ton of pictures of him there. And actually, after he passed, they created a bronze statue of him sitting at his spot at the bar, and it's still there. So if you ever get to go down to Cuba, you can go to the Floridita bar and see his statue there. But yeah, he loved that place, loved that drink, and I don't blame him. It's delicious. Very fresh.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. Let's do one more cocktail. Do you have one more in you, Amanda, that is your like third most favorite when it comes to the whole tiki thing?
I am sure I do. Because I also like the allspice dram. Like I like the clove aspect of tiki drinks. It's this warming, amazing thing. So I'm gonna say, actually, because I just started making this one out, is a pearl diver, which again has the gardenia mix with
the butter in it, right? Yeah.
And yeah. So you make this honey butter with
such a cool
clove
drink.
and all those flavors and the allspice dram. And it does have orange juice in it. And I'm not a big fan of orange flavors at all, but it has the OJ and then the lime juice with this butter. But you actually put a dollop of honey butter in there, and then you flash blend it, and you serve it, and it's kind of like a summertime hot buttered rum, which I love a good hot buttered rum. There's nothing that warms you. It just sticks to your bones on a cold day. But this is kind of like the summertime version. And it's so refreshing, but not too sweet. It's very bright and very lovely, but you still get those kind of clovey flavors. And it's super fun. And also the texture of it, I like to crunch things between my teeth. So it's not super creamy. It's got a texture to it. And what's a little weird about it is you still, because butter coagulates, and it's really hard to...
you got to drink it fast.
Yeah, you can't really get it super, super creamy because it's just not going to happen if you're making it the right way. So occasionally you'll get this really guilty sensory experience of this pop a little butter. And that might sound gross to some people, but it's like eating a drink, it's like buttering your bread, and it's amazing.
It's like buttering a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, exactly.
This is exactly why I wake up on the steps of City Hall. This is the reason. I do love this drink. It's very tasty. I've not had one in a long time, and I may have to rectify that.
Well, there's a movie, and I wish there was this lovely woman that came into the bar a couple of weekends ago, and she really wanted a pearl diver, and I was like, oh my goodness, let me go in the back. Let me see if I have butter. Because I was ready. I was like, I will whip this up for you. And I didn't have any butter in the house at all. And I said, next time you come back, I will make you an amazing pearl diver. But she actually called the bar a couple days later, and she had lost an earring. And so we started talking, and she says, I can't wait to come in and try your pearl diver. I really want it. She's like, we loved the drinks we had. Everything was so good. And she goes, but there was this movie, and I think
Oh
it
my
was
God.
something called
Which movie?
Blue. I don't. Oh gosh, I wish I had written down.
It's featured in a film called Django Unchained, which Tarantino did.
Yes, it is.
So
but she's
DiCaprio's awful character orders a Polynesian pearl diver
exactly
after a terrible scene, which is, I'm not going to get into it, but it's a good movie. But
she remembers this beautiful actress, and she was at one of those fancy clubs, and the actress drank like 4 or 5 pearl divers. And so that's the experience she wanted. And I thought that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes Tiki so exciting. Like stories like that, where people you have this idea and you're like, I just want to experience that. I want to do it. And just by having those flavors, you're going to have that experience because it's already been ingrained in your mind.
I want to say, no offense to people these are not diet drinks. None of these are like, I'm on the Jenny Craig Weight Watchers program here. There's butter, there's syrups, but that being said, these are absolutely worth your time. And I just love this. I'm like, I cannot wait to get into your bar, Amanda, and I'll bring butter if you're
come.
Out. If
I will never be out again. I can't believe I was out of butter. It was a Sunday, it was
no butter.
It was a Sunday. No butter on a Sunday.
No butter on a Sunday.
No butter on a Sunday. That's very pious of you. Well, this has been a lot of fun. It's earlier in the morning than I care to admit, and I'm ready to drink rum. So I guess
nothing wrong with that.
It's a Tuesday. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for being on. I really appreciate it. Everybody, go enjoy a properly made tiki drink and go to a real tiki bar. And for anybody who's in Los Angeles, Amanda, tell us where your bar is so that people can go in and actually have drinks made by you and your staff that you're talking about.
Yes. I'm like, go do a tiki crawl of all the great Los Angeles tiki bars. But definitely stop at ours.
It will be a crawl. It will be a crawl.
It will be. Get a party bus. But it's in Glendale, actually, on the Mile of Cars on Brand Boulevard. We're a little hole in the wall. If you blink, you'll miss us, but we are 1300 South Brand Boulevard, and we're right in between the Subaru and Toyota dealerships. It's a truly speakeasy sort of place.
That's where I get my Subaru service. So I keep hoping I can line up the times with when you guys open, that I can just be like, put on a new set of tires. I'll be next door.
We had a couple in on Saturday that were haggling for a car. So they were haggling via text while getting tipsy at the bar during happy hour.
Move.
And it's funny because they got so much braver. They were like, this is the best thing ever. I'm having a happy hour drink and I'm haggling about a car. I was like, awesome.
Oh my dear God.
Don't drink and drive. Please drink responsibly.
It's an honor to have you guys on. If you're in Los Angeles, definitely, absolutely go check out Between the Subaru Dealership. No, Amanda, it's a pleasure to have you on. Claire, thank you for joining. This has been so fun. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you are Som TV subscribers. If not, go to somtv.com. We have tons of stuff. Education, entertainment, hundreds and hundreds of hours of original content you can find nowhere else. And we want to say thank you for listening to this podcast. If you love it, and I hope you do, if you're listening, please give us a good review wherever you listen, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Today's episode was produced by Nadine Netman and mixed by John Adams, and we truly adore you guys listening. Go to somtv.com and subscribe and join us there as well. All right, be safe, everyone.